By now, you've heard a number of narratives surrounding White's battle with the WBC, from 1,000 days as number one contender to the WBC allowing Tyson Fury to cut in front of White for a shot at the title. Over the last 3 years, White has built an impressive resume. White has taken on the best available opponents in the heavyweight division and has found a way to win. White's win over Robert Helenius is looking much better after Helenius was able to stop Adam Kalinowski. Dillian Whyte has also collected wins over Lucas Brown, Joseph Parker, Derek Chisora, Oscar Rivas. Although Whyte would emerge victorious in these fights, his fights were close, and he tasted the canvas in many of those fights. Joseph Parker was able to drop Whyte in the 12th round, and Oscar Rivas was able to drop Whyte in the 9th round of their fight. In addition to Derek Chisora being deducted a point in the 11th round of his fight with Dillian White, his second fight with Dillian White. The round Chisora would eventually get knocked out in. At the time of the knockout, 2 judges had Chisora ahead, 95-94. Dillian White had done enough to earn a mandatory shot at the WBC title, but he did not do enough to turn himself into a global superstar. Anthony Joshua knocked White out on a huge local stage. Joshua added to that performance by knocking out Vladimir Klitschko in front of the world. Tyson Fury rose from the canvas in the 12th round to have a draw with the so-called hardest puncher in boxing history. In the rematch, Tyson Fury beat Wilder so badly, his corner threw in the towel and the Wildettes threw in their man card. Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury became superstars. But if you're Dillian Whyte, you have to feel like Tyson Fury stole your superstar moment. Dillian Whyte has to feel like he should have been the one to expose the pause bomber. And he has been robbed of the opportunity, and he took on the toughest challenges to earn that opportunity. The mandatory talks began to bore Dillian. He started reacting like Derek Chisora, War Dillian, until the entire world shook their heads and yelled out, "Poor Dillian." Dillian Whyte filed a lawsuit against the World Boxing Council, the WBC, and the president, Mauricio Sulaiman, began to change his tune. It went from feeling like, "We're not that into you," to, "I don't want nobody but you." Mauricio Sulaiman started making statements like Dillian Whyte is the mandatory challenger. He will get his shot against the winner of the trilogy between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. A far cry from what we've been hearing over the years involving Dillian Whyte and his status as the mandatory challenger. It was too easy. It felt too easy. What made them change? There's been no official release of an order. There's been no official release that there's been a judgment on the lawsuit. So why did Mauricio Sulaiman change so quickly? The name is Graziano Rocchigiani. In early 1998, the WBC light heavyweight title was relinquished by Roy Jones Jr., who planned to move up to heavyweight. Jones signed to fight the former heavyweight champion James Buster Douglas for the International Boxing Association heavyweight title on May 2nd, 1998 in Atlantic City, New Jersey. On March 21st, 1998, the WBC number 1 contender Michael Nunn fought the number 2 contender Graziano Rocchigiani for the vacant light heavyweight title. Rocchigiani won by a split decision and was declared the new champion. Meanwhile, Jones changed his mind and backed out of the fight with Douglas. His father convinced him to stay at light heavyweight, telling him he was risking his life by fighting Douglas. In June 1998, the WBC stated that Jones was the champion in recess and that Rocchigiani was the interim champion. The WBC said its references in promotions and contracts to the Rocchigiani-Nunn fight as a championship bout and to Rocchigiani as champion had been typographical errors. Jones and Rocchigiani were scheduled to fight in Biloxi, Mississippi on November 6, 1999. However, promoter Murad Mohammed called off the bout because Rocchigiani did not appear at a press conference in New York. Mohammed stated he could not promote a bout with Rocchigiani if he did not cooperate. The WBC subsequently stripped Rocchigiani outright. Rocchigiani sued the WBC and was awarded $31 million in lost earnings and other damages by the New York court in April 2003. The court also retroactively restored Rocchigiani's official WBC light heavyweight championship status, but only from March 28, 1998, when he defeated Nunn, to April 15, 2000, when he lost. The WBC filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection after the judgment. A year later, the WBC announced they planned to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which usually leads to liquidation of a company. They withdrew their plans to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy when they reached an agreement with Rocchigiani in August 2004. The terms were not disclosed. However, it's believed Rocchigiani settled for $4.5 million. Mauricio Sulaiman learned from his father's mistakes. Jose Sulaiman almost bankrupted the WBC with his treatment of Graziano Rocchigiani, and he won his lawsuit in court, and the WBC was ordered to pay him $31 million. If Rocchigiani never agreed to settle his debt, there would be no WBC today. Mauricio Sulaiman learned from that mistake and will not repeat that with Dillian White. It is the reason he immediately changed his tune once Dillian White took legal action. It is the reason he is insisting that Dillian White is the mandatory challenger. It is the reason he is insisting that Dillian White will get his shot in February 2021. And it is the reason he is saying he will not elevate Tyson Fury to franchise champion. Don't get it twisted. Mauricio Sulaiman is saying all the right things, but it's a matter of time before he gets his legal team together and figure out what he has the authority to do and in what directions he can move in. However, one thing's for certain. He will not repeat the mistakes of yesteryear, and he will not put a fighter in position to sue the WBC and get a judgment of $31 million again. If you wonder why Mauricio Sulaiman has backtracked so quickly, the name is Graziano Rocchigiani. Dillian White has been underrated, overlooked, and pushed aside. The question the WBC has to answer is, can they afford to continue that behavior? No, like seriously. They have to ask if they can afford to do that. If $31 million almost bankrupt them, Dillian White's judgment will certainly bankrupt the WBC for good. And I don't believe Dillian White is going to accept any settlement. He will gladly bankrupt the WBC for the way they treated him. So I ask the WBC, can you afford to overlook Dillian White? Remember, he who laughs last laughs the loudest.